Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to look at a game called Disney Mickey and the Beanstalk Games. This is done by the folks at Prospero Funko Games, Prospero Hall. It is a 2 to 4 player cooperative game in which you, starring Mickey and his friends, Goofy and Donald and Minnie, are going to try to rescue the golden harp and bring down food for all the inhabitants in Happy Valley. Without further ado, let's take a look.
Okay, let's talk about what comes in Disney's Mickey and the Beanstalk game. First off, you get this very terse and easily understandable instruction set. It's a trifold, that's all you need to know. The game is that simple. Every player is going to get their own player mat. You've got Goofy, you've got Donald, you've got Minnie, and you've got Mickey. You have the spinner board, which shows the giant, and it shows, well, a spinner with various slots you'll use to decide how far you can move on any given turn. You also have the chest, this locked chest, which the giant keeps food and the golden harp in. You have 4 keys, which you'll use to try to unlock the box, and free the harp. You have these extra courage tokens, and you have 3 different kinds of food. Now, why does that matter? Because we're going to show you the actual box. This is the game box. The game box is used to reconstruct a 3D image of the actual Happy Valley and the giant's lair above the beanstalk. So down here you've got the 3, 6, 9, 12 different slots in Happy Valley. All of those people need food. You've got in the deluxe edition, you've got 4 hand painted, already painted for you folks, pictures of Goofy and Donald and Minnie and Mickey. You have the beanstalk, which rises up to the giant's lair. And you have the table of food. You have the entrance, the drawbridges, and then you have this giant cacophony of food. Notice that even the little slots where you affix the table are decorated and adorned with yummy, delicious goodies. And you have the giant, who's always looking to try to find someone. Is there someone in my lair? Fee, fi, fo, fum. And that's what comes inside Mickey and the Beanstalk game. Now let's do a sample of gameplay. Okay, so in Mickey and the Beanstalk, everyone's working together. That's right, Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Goofy are all working together to try to fulfill the needs of Happy Valley and rescue the golden harp from the evil clutches of the Fee-Fi-Fo-Fum giant. Anyway, so how you do it is you're going to be going back and forth between the lair and Happy Valley, delivering goods and food and rescuing the harp. Everything happens with this magic spinner. So what we're going to do is just show you gameplay and then show you one of the coolest features you could possibly ask for in a game. Now, if you don't get the deluxe edition, then you're going to get just monochromatic colored figures for these characters. But if you do want to get the deluxe edition, you're going to get the nice hand-painted characters. Note that, however, there is a very steep price point because the regular edition of this was $7.95, but if you get the deluxe edition, it's a whopping $8.95 on Amazon right now. So, woo! Well, hopefully you got enough pennies in the pocketbook for that. So let's get rolling. So, how do you win? Well, you win when everyone in Happy Valley has all the food they need by filling all 12 spaces. You'll notice certain spaces have specific foods to fill in, and these wild card spaces say we can feed us whatever. We're just happy to be here because it's Happy Valley. We're supposed to. You'll notice, ooh, like that, the beanstalk rises. On the table, you have a various set of choices of meats. You can either go to the square or the circular or the hexagonal portions of food, and that's what you're trying to abscond with and deliver to the Happy Valley residents. You have the lockbox. If you land here, you can grab a key and store a key on one of the 3 spaces available. When you get there, if you go over to the lockbox, you can open it up and take anything from the lockbox, including the golden harp, which is great. Then you must hop down and deliver the goods to Happy Valley. What is the giant doing? Well, the giant's going to be moving around, and wherever he lands, he will gaze out upon the table. And if you happen to have a character on that table, either they will steal the golden harp from that character, if it's in their possession, or they will take food, and they will place food, not your food, they will take food from the main supply and place it in here, making it even harder and more faster for the game to end. And once again, once all 8 spots are filled, you lose. All right, so let's begin. Mickey is down here, and he's just having a good old time. He spins, and it comes on. Oh, there's the giant, so we resolve the giant. Okay, the giant will move to the nearest green space. He sees no people. That's his turn is done. And you have 3 movement points as Mickey. Now let's go over the movement points. You'll notice you'll get 3 to 4 movement points every turn. How do you handle these movement points? Well, you can move from Happy Valley to the branch. To the branch, you can move to here. So basically, 1 movement point means you climb the vine. And you land here. Second movement point means you travel to the drawbridge. Notice that the terrain all costs, and by terrain I mean the table, the drawbridge, it's all 1 point to move. So apparently this is the roadway. So if you're down here, the roadway itself, if you travel across the road being this organic vine, it's 1 movement point. 1 movement point to the drawbridge, and then your third movement point can jump onto the table in the spot closest to a drawbridge. From there, you can move around as your turns go by. Now, I have landed here. Wherever I land on, I can resolve with the action on that particular place. So I'm going to grab one of these. Now, this is the odd thing, is that apparently, when you're a Disney character in a game like this, you don't really know what food you're going to get until you actually take it off the table. So Mickey has this bread, and he's going to note that bread... There it is. So that's the spot he needs to deliver it to. So apparently, everything looks like meatloaf until you're up close. I guess that's the fate of the astigmatic. Anyway, so he's done. His turn is over. We quickly go to the next turn. What is Minnie going to do for us? Oh no. She landed on this spot. This immediately takes a piece of food and places it here, and then spins again. So that basically is not where you want to land. Let's pretend that went to a 3. Green. So now we're going to go to green. The closest route to green. Again, there's no character there. So Minnie gets 3 points herself. She's going to go up the vine. She's going to go over to the drawbridge. And she's going to go onto the table and grab. Look up close. And there we go. So now we've got 2 people with food. Yay. And then we go right to Donald. What's Donald going to do? Donald's going to move. Okay. Uh-oh. The closest thing is orange. Dun, dun, dun. All right. So the giant has landed and can see Minnie Mouse. So, does she have the golden harp? She does not. Because if she did, he'd lock it back up. But he does see a character on a food space. He flips a token from that matching space and gets us that much closer. Dun, dun, dun. So now we're almost halfway to losing. Sadness. Okay, and then Donald goes up, goes here. He too will go here. Aha! All right, he grabs some food, and again, there we go. So we're, oh, sorry, no, go here. All right, and then, we're gonna say that's here. Orange means goes 1, 2, 3. Can't see anybody. So that's good, and gets to go 3 spaces. Donald will go 1, 2, 3, and there we go. So we're going to continue on this way for a while. We're going to have food. So now we're just going to cut to the chase and show you what's going on. Actually, no, I'm going to show you the coolest thing. Once you have food, say for example, well, let's go to this first. So if a character, you've seen all you're going to see here. There is the sneak factor. If you sneak, then the giant doesn't move anywhere, and you can even land in a spot where he's at and take something. That's important later. If, for example, Mickey was to land here on the key, he would get a key. Now, why is that important? Because he could be able to go over here. And remember, the turkey is impassable terrain, so No chance. You can't even shoot over it. And it's just artillery. No, anyway. Goes here. Once he lands there, they can use the key to grab anything from here. Now, generally, you're going to want to grab the harp because that's a victory condition that you don't want to miss. That's an objective you want to have. But you can also use it later, and you have to bring it down, and it has to be in Happy Valley in order for every player to win. In this case, you can also grab food. If you didn't want to use it for her, you could grab food. Like if there's a missing piece here, they're like, oh, I really need this piece to match up that. You could take that as well, but you have to give the key back. All right, so let's say that we have the golden harp and that, and now Mickey's like, oh man, cool. Now I got to get out of here. And say Mickey rolled a 4. Okay, so what do? Well, Mickey can, rather than Mickey doesn't have to move around the table. Mickey can jump off the table and go to the drawbridge, go here, and then go down. Now watch this. Watch this cool factor. Yeah, Mickey. All right, and Mickey's down here. So then the food gets placed in the appropriate spot. There you go. And the golden harp lays here. And that's the essence of the game. You're going to continually go up and grab the food. You're going to go down. You're going to fill these spots out. You're going to try everything you can to get every spot filled in. There's some taters. Again, there's some wild spots. Look at that. So see, if we were to all give our goods, we'd be almost a victory right there. Meanwhile, the Giant's just going to keep going around the table going, 3, 5, 4, fum. Where's my food? Dum-dum. Anyway, that's the game in a nutshell. And just because I love this feature, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do this. And of course, come on, Mickey. Oh, sorry. Come on, Duck. Donald. All right, so there you go. That's really the whole game. The only difference is on certain games, if you fill out an entire section here, you can have a courage token. You can use this at any time to keep the Giant from actually grabbing stuff when he has an opportunity to do so. And again, the losing conditions are if you fill in all 8 spots, then the game is over and you have lost. And again, in order to win, you have to fill out all 3, 6, 9, 12 sections and have the golden harp in your possession. That's it. That's the game in a nutshell. Now let's get into my final thoughts on Mickey and the Beanstalk.
Okay, final thoughts on Mickey, then the Beanstalk game. Let's go into the cons, then the pros, then my final thoughts. As for the cons, this game is not going to lie to you. This is going to be fairly simplistic fare. This isn't intended to be, an epic grand adventure of any kind. There's not a lot of major trappings, but it is going to be simple, fun fare. So be warned, you're not going to have your brain power taxed too much. There's a genius, like just the genius of that fun little beanstalk and the way that they spin down. Come on, who doesn't love that? But the beanstalk clearance between the actual beanstalk and the elevated board that makes up the Giant's like house and table, there's a clearance problem there, and when you're trying to get your little character to move down, it gets stuck on the corner of a board, and so you're gonna have to push and flick to get the bean to come back down. Now the player to like spin back down. I mean, this is a premier part of it, so you want it to be this wow moment. You don't want it to get stuck and hung up on furniture and such. So this isn't this isn't unique to my copy. I actually bought 3 copies. Yeah, I know, but yeah, more on the final thoughts. But in all 3 of them, as I was setting them up, this was a problem. So I ended up having to actually like cut the corner of the actual box, and that way when you put the Mickey or Minnie or Goofy or Donald on there, it spins and flies down, because kids want that. Do not rob your children or grandchildren of that moment. There are a couple tiny rules, ambiguities, some phrasings that aren't entirely clear in a game of this time. You just wing it. You don't have to worry about a 20-page rule book. You have one printed sheet. And then there's one weirdness to it. In the first game, you have what are called courage hearts, and the manuals say to set those aside for your first game. You know, some games do that. They're like, hey, you know what? This might be more complicated than your tiny brain can allot. Set those aside and then add those in later. Usually, those are for things that make the game trickier or more complex. The courage hearts are if the giant is about to take a food or mess with you, you can use a courage heart and expend it to stop that. They're a helper. They actually help you they make the game easier. Why on earth would you, in your first game, your learning game, why would you tell someone to take the courage hearts and set them aside? And then in the second game, go ahead and add the courage hearts. They make the game easier. What? That is so counterintuitive. Like, I get it. Like, oh, courage hearts might be one too many things for them to learn, but usually, like, find something like don't say let's make your learning game the hardest game. Let's set you up to fail, and you will, because this isn't necessarily an easy game to win. So anyway, okay, whatever. Anyway, let's get to the pros. There's so many nice touches to this game. I like the story. Like, originally, as you know, in the cartoon, you know, they go up there, they steal the harp. But this isn't a recreation of that. No. If you read the story, which there isn't a lot of story here, but there's enough. Once there was a beautiful valley where a golden harp sang, bringing joy to the land. But a giant came and stole the harp for himself. Mickey, Donald, and Goofy climbed a magic beanstalk to rescue the harp. However, that wasn't the last that they heard from the giant, as he came back to steal the golden harp again. Mickey and friends are returning back up the magic beanstalk to save the golden harp and return prosperity to Happy Valley forever. First off, they did that. That is how they can incorporate Minnie, because she gets to be part of it, the adventure now. And if you couldn't save him the first time, guys, how can you really honestly say this is forever this time? What proof do you have? What insurance do I get? Anyway, nice touches like that. Again, the board, when you're looking at the elevated board and how it sets up in this wonderful array of like three-dimensional fun goodness with the beanstalk and the table and the goodies, the choicest foods. The foods are awesome. There's a, you know, like I said, even the touches, even the little connecting like nubs have little cupcakes on them. Like, that is really cool. I mean, that is really cool. Oh, I didn't mention in the con, though, I still think it's weird that you can't actually know what food it is until you, like, grab it, but that's, come on, suspension of disbelief. It is time. A lot of adults might not want to admit how fun this is because the theme is so childlike and kiddie, but you got to admit, the tension on the spinner is pretty real. Now, generally, spinner games turn most everybody off that I know of anyway. You don't like, you know, the whole spinning thing. I mean, general, of course, you know, spinning is just like a spherical die to some people. Like, you still roll a die, but the general idea is that the spinner doesn't necessarily do wild extreme things. Here, the spinner spins to serve two purposes. One is to move the giant, and again, that's random. You just never know. You could have a great game, you could have a crappy game. This game is so short and so just frolicky that you're just not worrying about that part. But it also doesn't have a very large range of movement point allocation either. It's either 3 or 4. So you're not having to worry about, oh great, I only get to move 1. What's the point of my turn? And it's over. No, your turn are spin it, either something bad happens, either you get to sneak and the giant doesn't move, which is great, or you get to move, the giant does something, there might be some fallout, but you've still got some plans, you got to get the locks and the keys and the food and all that stuff, so you're keeping busy with that, so the spinner doesn't bother me that much. You know, and filling up the chest, the thing, I like the teamwork kind of aspect of it, because it's not overblown, it's not overbearing, it's just you and 3 other people kind of working together, and you do have to work together, you can't just, you know, you do strategize. You probably could king make here a little bit, but in general, no, because honestly, you're all together. You're all working to save the golden harp and to fill up the chest to solve the food supply chain issue from the overbearing federal giant with his literal head in the clouds, hoarding all the food for himself. So that's your whole, you know, band together, people. So anyway, and again, the beanstalk walk. Like, come on, who isn't going to love the spinny beanstalk walk? I love that. I want that for other games like Wings of Glory or Wing Leader or 303 Squadron. I want to know that if I shoot down an ME-109, I can just pull that out, put on the... Anyway, That's it. So in summary, some games are designed for kids and families as just ideologically to go like, okay, let's all play a game. We'll dumb it down so that, like grandma, grandpa, and little 2-year-old can have some fun. Those are not ones that I like because they tend to water the fun down to a point of compromise where if everyone has not an entirely great amount of fun, then they probably have succeeded, kind of thing. And that's not every game. There's a lot of great kids games out there. Might even do a section on that once on what are my favorite kids games, especially if you've got kids who have any acuity for board gaming already at for all. I would actually recommend this for them. Because you're not just playing it because of the people around going, okay, I'll reduce myself to play this. Nah, this is actually a really fun game. I'm impressed that I played it. I had fun playing it. I highly recommend the deluxe edition, even though it's almost $1 more. You cannot get a better deal for a kid's game at $8 right now on Amazon. Like, I don't know how long that's going to last, but seriously, this game has a lot of charm. It's got some savvy to the gameplay. Again, it's not meant to be extraordinarily complex. It's meant to be simple, but it's still a fun simple. You work your nerves a little bit when you're spinning and trying to employ teamwork and coordinate, but win or lose, it's fun and it's memorable and we have a great time. And what more can you ask from a literally under $10 game? Definitely get the deluxe edition. You want the painted minis. So there you go. There we have it. Mickey and the Beanstalk. Thanks again. We'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.